All right, welcome to lesson 2 for the inquiry project. I am now wearing a hat because after editing the video from number 1, I was super self-conscious about my hair. So there you have it. So in this video, I'm going to try to help with you getting started. So on the course, if you go to the course page, there's an inquiry project template. This is what it looks like exactly right here. And I want to go through it really quickly so that I can potentially help guide you with the first initial steps of the inquiry project. So hopefully after lesson 1, you can at least hone in on a topic, whether it's Red Bull's effects on mountain biking or Chewbacca's hair and his metabolism. Hopefully you have some sort of topic that you want to jump into. And if you weren't able to find one, hopefully you met with me on Skype and were able to get some help with sorting out the topic. So what you're going to be doing next is working on your introduction. There's also going to be a main body and a conclusion. So I want to sort of break down each of these pieces. And another thing is that you are going to be putting your achievement goal for this inquiry project. So what grade are you aiming to get in the course? Don't be afraid to put A+ or A if that really is what you're aiming for. But whatever you circle is how I'm going to be commenting when I see your work. So when you submit your rough draft and I see an A+, I'm going to be helping you try to get as close to 100% as possible. If you're trying to get an A, I'm going to be helping you to get as close to 87% as possible, and so on and so forth. So that number 1 is super important, but let's move on to the introduction. So this is literally what it says. The introduction is here is where you list what the aim of your project is going to be about, why this is important to you. You state a hypothesis to your problem, and provide some background info on why you've chosen this. So here's the big thing. When I introduced my potential topic of how Red Bull would affect mountain biking trials, I would have to think of a hypothesis before I start my inquiry project and start doing a bunch of research. Because once I do a bunch of research, I'm obviously going to kind of know what my hypothesis should be if I want it to be correct. So off the top of my head, I would say that my hypothesis, I would think, because I've had Red Bull before, it gives you a ton of energy, and then it sort of dumps you out. So I would think that Red Bull would increase your speed in mountain biking from the amount of sugar and vitamins and different things in it. And so it would boost your time in mountain biking up to a certain point. So if you're, I would say that for so my honed in hypothesis, now that I've thought about it, would be that drinking a Red Bull prior to mountain biking would increase the speed of your time as long as the trail was 5 minutes or less. If the trail was from 5 minutes to 25 minutes, it would not increase your time because by the end of it, you would have an energy dump. And that if the trail was 25 minutes or longer, it would actually shorten or lengthen. It would cause you to be slower on your trail because of the sugar kind of dump at the end. So that would kind of be my hypothesis. So then I would need to actually go and do that and find out a little bit more about that. But the introduction is not only where you provide your hypothesis, but it's also where you throw in some information. So most of you are going to be doing this project on something that I may have no idea about. If you're doing this research, I had a student do a research project on orcas. I'm not going to know anything hardly about orcas except for what I saw from Free Willy, which you guys probably don't even know that, but that was an old Disney movie. So I want you to provide some background information in this. So for instance, I'm going to use myself as an example for lots of this so that you can see how it would work contextually. But I would have to do some in my background information. I'd want to talk about Red Bull, the size of Red Bull drink that I'm going to be drinking. I would talk about the nutritional facts on the back. I would talk about mountain biking, my experience with mountain biking, the mountain bike that I have, the mountain bike that I'm going to be using for my project, and the trail that I'd be doing. I would say the reason why I'm doing this topic is because I love mountain biking, and any reason to go out there would be awesome. And specifically, Red Bull sponsors a lot of mountain biking. So there's an Instagram page, Red Bull Bikes, that I follow, and they're awesome. So Red Bull specifically sponsors Red Bull Rampage, and so I would be interesting to find out if the competitors drink Red Bull, if it's actually a good idea for a short circuit or if it's a bad idea. I'm thinking my hypothesis that it's a good idea, that if you're a competitor and you're competing in a race or in some sort of circuit, you would be able to drink one, and as long as it's 5 minutes or less, you'd have a boost of energy and you'd be able to win or do some awesome tricks or something. So this is what I want to see in your introduction. The entire project should be a decent amount of pages. I would assume that the introduction would probably be at least a page, where you're able to talk about your topic, provide some background information. In this background information, you can also link it to some science as well. I think that there could be some scientific content connection to your course, pretty easily added at that section as well. So once you've created an introduction, then you need to head over to the main body. And this main body, again, is taken right from here, back from slide 1, with the, this is just like my template to help you guys out. So we're going to go main body and then conclusion next. So in the main body, you do need to do some research. So I said in lesson 1, this is not a research project. This is an inquiry project. That doesn't mean that you don't get to do research. You definitely still do. But the main body is where the real inquiry comes in. And you need to conduct your own research. You can't just go online and research everything from Google. That's not what I want. I actually want you to learn something and do some scientific discovery yourself. So how can you do this? How can you conduct some sort of scientific research yourself? There are 3 main ways that I'm going to recommend doing this. Number 1 is by using yourself or your family or friends, someone, as a test subject. So in my example, I would definitely want to use myself as a test subject. And what I would do is I would say, I would go to a mountain biking trail that I know and love. I live in the Okanagan, so maybe I could go to Big White or Silver Star. There's a couple runs that I really love up there, so I could choose one of them, and I would maybe do 3 runs without drinking a Red Bull, and then I'd have to do 3 runs with drinking Red Bull. I might have to do this over a couple days because I don't think drinking 3 Red Bulls is recommended in one day. But that's one way that I can conduct some research myself. I'd have to have it timed, so I might need someone else to come with me and help me, and you might need someone to come with you and help you as you conduct your own research. Another way that you can do this is you can conduct an interview. So let's say you're studying orcas. You could find someone in BC that studies orcas as well. I'm fairly certain that there's someone at University of Victoria, so UVic, as well as UBC Vancouver. And basically, and even if it wasn't, maybe you want to research something from a completely different, like a researcher from New Zealand. That's awesome. Conduct an interview with someone that has significant experience in that realm, and contact them. Say, hey, can I do an interview with you for my for a project in my biology course? I'm wanting to find out more about, X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be. And then they should be able to give you some specific information. And then with their information, you can continue on with your project. So maybe in mine, I could interview because I live here in Kelowna, there's actually a couple professional mountain bikers who live in Vernon, and they actually attend um, Red Bull Rampage and have won it. So I could talk to them. I could potentially just throw it out there, get a hold of them, and try to do an interview with them. Some of them are like probably too popular and I couldn't get a hold of, but there are definitely a few that I could. I could ask them what they think about drinking energy drinks in mountain biking and what some of their maybe like methods are, like what they do. Maybe they have like a special drink that they have. Maybe it's like, all natural, organic. Maybe that's something like that. And the third option is that you can do a survey. So a survey could be something that you do over social media. And for mine, I could just throw out a picture on Instagram or Facebook or anything, and I could say, "Hey, what is your?" I could make a survey with like maybe 5 questions. Do you drink Red Bull on a daily basis, or maybe not daily, but do you drink Red Bull? What is your rating of it? Do you find it gives you extra energy in the first 5 minutes of drinking it? Do you find that it wears off after 25 minutes of drinking it? And you could basically get a survey with a bunch of data from a bunch of people, and most people aren't gonna lie because most of these surveys are anonymous. If you do notice someone throwing out ridiculous data, maybe don't include it, or you can include it, but you can maybe talk about that in your conclusion. And yeah, so that's something that you could do with that as well. So that is what you have to conduct yourself. That is how you are going to do a part of this in your own inquiry. But you will also find some stuff online. I could also just Google what some professional athletes use for their, pre-mountain biking runs and different things like that. And once I've gotten data, I'm probably going to want to have a table, maybe a graph that shows how fast I was able to complete the runs with Red Bull and without Red Bull. And I'd be able to compare them, and you'd be able to see that nice and visually. I'll probably have a picture of me doing the mountain biking. If you're doing something that you yourself are going to be the test subject for, please throw a picture in there. It'd be great to be able to see that. And I think this is also a great place for lots of your scientific content. So there might be some, like I mentioned in your introduction, when you're talking about your topic, but this is where I can really sort of beef up my project and add the scientific content. And I can talk about, once I've looked at my data, I can say, after doing some research, I can see that, like, let's look at some of the ingredients, that taurine and niacin and caffeine, increase blood pressure. And, I could go into that whole thing. I don't know if they do or not, but you'd be able to connect that scientific content, and you'd be able to say, maybe in my own trial, I did heart rate analysis at the end of my run with Red Bull and my end of run without. Maybe it causes your heart rate to increase, and something like that. And with your data, I would recommend, like I mentioned, putting it into some sort of table and graph if possible, because that's going to be just visually appealing for me to be able to see what you are doing. And then lastly is your conclusion. So now that you've gone through and you've looked at the entire looked at your entire project, you've completed it, now you're able to talk about it. So all of your results, you get to synthesize them, and in your conclusion you can say, yes, I proved my hypothesis, and I found out that Red Bull, on average made me 3% faster. I completed my runs, 15 seconds short, or like faster than I did without without Red Bull. And whatever your project ends up being on, you can definitely talk about that in your conclusion. This could be important for people that are, competing in mountain biking. So you can talk about why your research is important. You can talk about anything that maybe surprised you. Maybe you totally disproved your hypothesis and something completely different happened. You can talk about that. maybe there was some errors and bias. So in mine, if I did my 3 runs without Red Bull first, and then I did my 3 runs with Red Bull second, there's a little bit of bias there because I might have just gotten more comfortable on that trail, having done it 3 times back to back. That when I drink the Red Bull, even though I think that I'm faster because I'm drinking the Red Bull, it could have only been because I was super familiar with the trail and I was able to do it faster because of that familiarity. So make sure that you take a look at your results and your experiment. I'm not expecting them to be perfect, so there's probably going to be a little bit of bias, and potentially, I'm not going to have a professional out there clocking my times. I'm just going to be doing it as best as I can. So there could be some errors in just calculating my times as well, and that's something that you're going to want to address in your conclusion. So I would say that your introduction could probably be a page. Your main body could probably be a few pages because it's going to include tables, maybe some graphs, pictures, things like that. And then your conclusion should also probably be a solid page. So roughly around the 5-page mark, maybe a little bit shorter depending on how concise you can be. And then you've got this works cited at the very end that I do want you to use APA formatting for, because you learned about that in the research assignment section. So that's that. Hopefully this will help you in getting things started. And again, if you're wanting some help with the specific topic that you have, and you're wondering how to conduct your own research, if you're wondering what research you should do, what visual content you should include, all those types of things, again, pop into my Skype hours. I'd love to help, but I will see you again in lesson 3, where we talk about how this is all graded, and I will see you there.